I guess we should probably start with a little bit of recap from last week. Yeah,
Yep.
what's going on? Where
We
did we
tied up
last
the
leave off?
carpenter.
The suddenly laughing uproariously carpenter.
Yeah, that's right.
So I've got an in-character explanation for that, and I'm gonna be tacking that on to the end of my journal entry for today. But no, we started off the session having finished talking to Herschel, made our way to the Blushing Trout Inn, but while we were on our way there, we stopped by a temple to Deborah. Yeah, I think it was Deborah. That was run by a local cleric. Torgrim and Emir made some prayers to their dwarven god buddies, you know. Then we made our way over to the Blushing Trout, did some scouting about the Smith's house. I believe Fitz did that. I don't remember.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay. And then made our way to the inn. Hired the rooms for the night for the innkeeper. Had a nice dinner, all was well and dandy, until we get attacked in the middle of the night. Well, you guys got attacked in the middle of the night. The woman woke up late. We managed to subdue the innkeeper, his wife, and his daughter. So they're tied up safe and snug, we hope. And then we made our way about the village, trying to secure as many as we could. Made our way to Herschel, let him know what's up. I think, for the most part, we checked almost every house and either marked it or barricaded or tied up whoever we could, with the exception of the boatmaker, who didn't trust us because we all kind of were talking at once. I can't remember who Fitz talked to, but Fitz, one house Fitz went to on his way to check something else. They didn't quite trust him, and they seemed to lock themselves in. And let's see, yeah, and then we ended up at the carpenters, where Dolan was able to gain his trust and get inside, but he's not particularly violent. But he also saw this as his opportunity to play into his goals, so he took it, and we subdued the carpenter and locked his wife in a room, who is currently sick, last we knew.
Sounds about right.
That's good, man. That's pretty comprehensive for not having recordings to work off of.
Yeah. You forgot about Wapa's mysterious house X, though. Wapa's convinced there's something behind the house with the boarded boards, right?
Yep.
So, then we actually ended right at the house where the guy was tied up, right? Like, we left the house, but then we stopped the game there.
Yeah. Right after we tied up the carpenter.
Okay.
Building C.
No, building C is the trade post, I thought.
No, it's carpenter.
Carpenter.
There's two building Cs. One is C for caravan. One is C for carpenter. The carpenter's house is the one that's closest to where you entered the village the day before.
The three places we haven't gone back to are the shrine, the smith, and then that one house right north of the smith and the goat herd.
And that was our plan, was to circle back by the shrine towards the smith, right?
And I don't think you've been to the tanners yet either.
Mm.
Herschel or Mylene, I think, pointed out where it was, but you haven't been there yet. All right, so it's getting on to, regular morning hours now. It's maybe 7:30, close to 8 o'clock in the morning on the 5th day of the week. It's a nice, cool spring morning. Overcast, but not raining hard. and the group is outside the carpenter's house. Torgrim's with you. I'll play Torgrim this session, but he'll probably be quiet and thoughtful most of the time. What's the next step?
I think we should head to the temple.
I guess let's check on the priest. He was alone there, so he may just be isolated.
Agreed.
Also agreed, but just as a fair warning, I am out of magic reserves already for the day.
Cool. Amir will nod.
Good to know.
So I'm trying to remember. Were we fully dressed for comp? Yeah, we did. We got all geared up before we went out. That's right.
Yes, you did.
I'll keep my shield and my sword, like get ready, and then I'll kind of lead the path down towards the shrine. Just walking out in the open, but being alert for something charging out at us.
Okay. You guys make your way through the little stand of trees and to the path leading past Herschel's house and towards the shrine. The shrine, there's no lights inside right now at this time of the morning, but the doors are closed and it looks like it's all shut up for the night.
Are there any windows on the shrine?
There are, yeah.
I'd like to try and just sneak around the outside, see if I can look in any windows.
Okay. Make a perception check in the tower for me.
Damn it, hold on.
Okay. As you make your way around the shrine, you look in the open windows, and inside you see the room that you were in yesterday with the little altar and the benches. There's nothing inside right now. It looks totally dark. But as you sort of scoot around the north side of the building, trying to get a look in the cleric's quarters in the back, you hear like a low scratching sound coming from behind the building. Just like a persistent shh, shh, shh.
All right, I creep back to the group and let them know what I hear.
You just basically communicate that you hear like shuffling in there.
Mm-hmm. Scratching noises.
And it's not from inside the building, it's from like outside the building, somewhere behind it.
Oh. We should be careful. There may be one of the infected, what are we even calling them at this point? Are they infected? I guess maybe one of the villagers around the back. And then I'll just kind of take the lead, I guess, and head around the side of the building that Alton kind of had scouted on.
I will flank around the opposite side of the building.
Okay. Where's everybody else going?
I'll follow Fitz in this case.
Where are you going, Fitz? You didn't say.
Following you.
Okay.
And Torgrim follows too. Okay. You creep around either side of the building. And as you round the corner, standing in the pumpkin patch is what looks like the cleric, Weeder. He's got his back to you. And you hear the sound again. And you can see pretty clearly that he's just hoeing his pumpkin patch.
Trixie.
Can I make a perception check to see where the scratching is coming from?
Yeah, the scratching is coming from his hoe in the dirt as he hoes his pumpkin patch.
Okay, all right.
Okay. Amir will make a noise then, like step on a branch or like tap his sword on his shield as he approaches to like announce himself.
He jumps a little bit and he turns around. Oh, good morning.
And he'll kind of stop and put his sword tip down in the dirt. Don't be alarmed, but the infection has spread. More of the villagers are starting to act erratically and violently. We're rounding up any of the safe ones. We just came by to check on you.
Infection? Oh, you mean like... Oh. He leans his hoe against the fence. How can I help?
You may consider heading to the Inn of the Blushing Trout. That's where Herschel is now, tending to some of the incapacitated and infected.
He chuckles a little bit. I'll never not laugh at that name. But all right, let me get my things and I'll go help. Thank you for letting me know.
Nod. Do you need an escort or will you be okay getting there yourself?
He looks at you sort of worriedly. I don't know. Is it dangerous?
We can escort you. It's on the way past the Smiths. We wanted to stop off there, as it is.
Okay, well just give me a moment. I'll meet you out front. And he goes in the cleric quarters in the back of the building.
Turn to the rest of the group. So we have the Smiths and the Tannas left. Most of the village is turned.
Before we make any plans, Fitz, would you mind double checking on him? Seeing if you can watch him through the window?
Of course. Would that be stealth or perception?
Stealth if you don't want to be noticed. Perception if you want to perceive things.
Basically both.
Yeah, probably both.
Maybe he's just a naturally cheerful person, but he seemed very at ease for the situation.
Okay. You sneak over and peer in the back window. He's just getting a hat, putting it on, grabbing a bag. He's putting some bottles in the bag. Some cloth from his bed. Nothing out of the ordinary. As you watch, he leaves the room and he heads toward the front of the building.
I'll follow him around to the front.
I go ahead and make my way around to the front of the building since Fitz is heading that way.
Yeah, I'll head around to the front as well.
Okay. Very shortly, Weeder comes out. He's got sort of a funny-looking wide-brimmed hat on. And he joins you for the escort to the inn.
Can I nod? Let's get off quickly. It's almost day. I guess it is day, right? Like it's dusk. Or dawn, I mean.
At this point, the sun is probably well and truly above the mountains, and it's relatively morning bright.
Okay. So I'll start heading down the path. Just checking back and make sure others are following.
Okay, are you guys gonna go straight to the Smiths? Or are you gonna go to the inn and drop him off and then double back? Or
I think the plan, well, my plan, unless somebody voices otherwise, is to stop up at the Smiths first because it's on the way.
okay,
Sounds
I
reasonable.
agree.
okay. As you approach the Smith, you can hear like the ringing of metal. The Smith is apparently already awake and doing work outside. You can see him under his little open top tent next to his house, and he's banking some coals, and he's already banging something on the anvil. He's a big man, strong, probably mid-40s. He's got sort of blonde hair that's obviously thinning and receding, and he's got a pretty good sized beard and a big old mustache.
Okay. I kind of whisper to Dolman as we approach. Things seem calm here. I'll stay with the priest if you want to speak to the smith.
That seems good.
So I'll just kind of stand out in the road with the priest and just stay. I have my arms put away at this point, I think, because I don't want to like threaten the smith or anybody else, and it doesn't seem like we're being ambushed in broad daylight, so I'm less cautious. But I'll just stand cross-armed next to the priest and watch, see what happens with the smith.
I'll walk forward and hail the smith. Hello.
He looks up at you and sort of squints. Hey, who's that there?
A friend of Mylene's and Herschel's. Come to check and make sure you and your family are okay. It appears that some more of the villagers have started behaving violently, like Zeb and the other fellow.
Just immediately his expression changes. And he hefts the hammer in his hand a little bit.
We've managed to subdue most of them and safely lock them away in their homes. And everyone who isn't turned, so to speak, is over at the end of the Blushing Trout with Herschel. You may have seen him pass by this morning.
He considers for a second. And then he takes off his apron and he hangs it on a little peg next to the forge. And he sets his hammer down. And he walks out toward the fence and into the street to talk to you. I don't want to wake up the children. Tell me, what's happened?
Well, it appears that whatever's going on it makes people violent, but they only attack if they can sense something. And otherwise, they seem rather docile. They just seem to scratch at things. In fact, we've locked a couple of them in their houses, and we haven't heard anything once we've left except the scratching on the walls that they seem to do. So right now we're kind of scouting the village and locking up who we can, and then making sure that those who aren't turned know of Herschel.
No one in my house is sick. But my two oldest boys aren't at home. He looks worried and he sort of looks off to the west.
Those are the hunters that Herschel mentioned, yeah? Sometimes hunt small game in the woods to the south here?
He smiles a little bit. Yes. And then he looks sad. Trigo was teaching my boys to hunt. They normally hunt south of the lake, but game here has been scarce. This time, they went over the bridge north of the river to hunt up toward the falls. They should be back. Well, hopefully they'll be back today.
If we can secure the rest of the village, we might just consider heading out with swiftness in order to try and make sure they're safe and have a safe return.
Do you expect there to be danger out in the wild?
Aside from the usual bears, not right now. No. But better safe than sorry.
He looks up and he takes everyone in. I'm sorry, I didn't catch your names.
Mine is a Doleman, and then the rest of my company here, I point to each of them in turn. Logan, Fitz, Amir, and Torgrim. We're all friends of Mylene and Gunvern Rockseeker.
Well, I can trust friends of Mylene. She's a good woman. Listen. I'm worried about the boys. If they don't make it back within the next couple of hours, I'll go and look.
You might maybe consider helping us then in securing the village. Right now, all we're doing is marking the houses of those that have turned, and after we scout them, and then and then telling everyone to go to the end of the bushing trout, we still haven't hit the tanners, the carpenters, or the goat herds. Or no, we've finished with the carpenter a moment ago. Although, perhaps actually, there was a bit of a kerfuffle there. Nobody's hurt, but his wife is sick in bed. We're afraid with the sickness, and he's currently preoccupied in the other room. If maybe you could perhaps convince him to go to the end of the blushing trout of his own volition, I'm sure he would trust you more than a couple of passersby.
Well, Boddock's a sour sort. He's not likely to listen to me any more than he is to listen to anyone else. The way to convince Baddock of anything is to convince his wife. And if she's sick... Listen, I'd like to help you, but... And he looks back toward his house. I've got a wife. And 3 young children still here at home. You understand.
Of course. Very well. If if you'd feel more secure here at your house than at the Blushing Trout with Herschel, then by all means, it's your fate. But there might be some strength if you go and join Herschel.
If the boys come back, they'll come here. I want to be here when they do.
Sounds reasonable enough.
So he didn't have any sense of where the kids went, huh? Or did I miss that?
I did. North of the bridge, north of the river.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
The game has been scarce, and they've been hunting up by the falls.
Gotcha. Okay.
I turned to the rest of the party and kind of like spread my hands and kind of like a gesture.
And Amir will just do one like curt nod, like of acknowledgement.
Smith nods back. Let me know if you learn anything. I'll be here. And he goes back to his forge. And he picks a big maul up off his tool table. Leans it against the building next to him.
I turn to everybody and say, I think he'll be safe here. He's not far from the inn. He has a family to take care of. I think that's pretty reasonable that he wants to stay here and take care of them. Maybe make our way back to the Blushing Trout and check in with Herschel. Make sure that our 3 captives are still bound and he's okay.
Right. And check on the goat herd before we get there.
We already did.
We did? All right.
Yeah, Fitz did on his way back. They're okay.
Cool.
Untrusting of outsiders, but okay.
Yeah, Amir will kind of acknowledge or nod and agree. A man's fate's his own. He should be able to protect himself. He has a maul there that looks like a fine weapon.
It's not him I'm worried about.
Perhaps we could, if we settle things here in the village, perhaps we could scout around maybe north and see if we can find his boys.
That would definitely win him to our side.
They are a part of the village, which we're supposed to keep safe, or at least make safe. So matches what we should be doing here, and frankly, they may somehow be tied to this whole thing or know more about it. All right. So after that, I think we got to get the priest back to the inn. So I'll just kind of turn. We should set out. If
Okay.
there's no further objections, I'll just head down towards the inn.
I agree.
Okay. When you get to the inn, Herschel's still there. Mylene's arrived there and is helping him. The wounds of the three who live there have been patched up, it looks like, as best as he can. He's got all three of the residents of the inn. He's got them all tied up in the main master bedroom of the inn. Tied to chairs.
Well, just kind of, I'll make my way and step aside and look. Herschel's in the room, right? He's there with us.
Yep. Herschel's there. Mylene's there.
Turn to the group and say, we brought the priest with us. Some of the other villagers are safe and are staying in their homes. Others we had to leave locked in their houses who have already returned.
Herschel looks alarmed. More of them.
Many more, I think. And I'll try to recount all the different houses.
Let's see.
Remember.
I think you definitely found that there were people that were sick at the Tinkers, and you shut them all up in their rooms and shut the doors.
That's right.
There were 2 gnomes at the Tinkers, I think.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so I'll say the Tinkers were all sick as far as we could tell. They're locked in their home. The Inn of the Wasp, we didn't explore much. It looked boarded up. Tavern of the Cracked Mug. I don't remember the other tavern. What was the situation there?
There were definitely 3 sick people in the tavern.
Okay.
And you just closed the doors, and they didn't try to climb out the windows, so you moved on.
3 more in the tavern, although they are not secured. They don't seem to understand how to operate doors, so we left them with the doors closed there. And well, the carpenter is the guy we tied up, right?
Yeah.
The boatmaster seemed fine, although he refused to come with us. He was down at the docks. The carpenter is tied up in his house. He's also ill. And the smith is waiting for his boys to return, but he is fine. We have not checked on the tanner yet.
Didn't Fitz convince the goat herders to pack up their stuff and come over to the inn? I don't remember.
I don't believe so.
Okay.
No, I
They were
think they
very
just said
skeptical.
they were fine, and they were, yeah.
Did we check on the house just past the goat herders? It was empty, right?
We did not.
Okay. And the Inn of the Wasp, we didn't actually go inside. We just looked through the windows. It looked vacant. And then the one directly to the right of that was already boarded up, correct?
Correct.
We have not been to the Tanners either.
Yeah, I'm thinking we make a straight line from the inn after we check on everybody and make sure everybody's okay, do what we do here. Make a straight line from that little house next to the road past the goat herders to the tanners and then back to that little tiny shed with a boat in front of it that was already boarded up. Because, sick people don't board themselves inside their house.
Okay. Is that the plan?
You find no disagreement for me?
Yeah, that sounds like a good start.
How does everybody feel about possibly getting the priest to take a look at the sick people in the inn first?
Yeah, I kind of assumed that's what he would do. This help Herschel, but if he doesn't look like he's going over to like examine or talk with Herschel, I'll definitely recommend it.
Yeah, he's talking with Herschel, and he brought what little medical supplies he has, but he makes it pretty clear that Herschel's he's much better at this sort of thing than he is. He's still very much learning. He's a young man, and it's not his expertise.
Okay.
He's more of a priest than a cleric, exactly. But he's here to help. He's a very positive guy.
Suspiciously positive.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Okay, so let's. Where did you want to hit first, Wap?
The house that doesn't have a label on it, just past the goat herders.
Oh yeah, I'm not even sure what that is. Okay, so we'll just head up towards the Tanners essentially.
Yeah.
Okay. Same type of formation, at least with me in the front, and whoever wants to be behind me. Arms are put away unless I have cause to be concerned.
Okay. It's getting a little bit brighter as the sun rises a little higher in the sky. It looks like the clouds are starting to burn off, and it's going to be surprisingly a relatively nice day. Nothing seems to be moving anywhere under the trees. The village is very quiet, although you can occasionally hear a ring of metal from near the smith's house. You approach the little place you were headed to, and it's just a small, very small, maybe one-room little thatched house right next to the path. The door is covered in boards that have been nailed across the door. It's boarded up.
Nailed from the outside?
From the outside.
Another suspicious house.
Hmm. And there's no windows. It's thatched, right?
It is thatched. There's an open window on the south side. There's no glass in it, but there are curtains, nothing else.
Perhaps we should peek in and see what's inside.
I agree.
I might have some trouble climbing up there with my height and my gear. Anybody else able to get a good look?
I'll check it out.
This town is racist against dwarves.
Yes. Not
Dwarf
built for
accessible.
dwarves. Yeah.
Yeah.
Run a perception check and kind of peek through the window.
Okay. You peek in. You can sort of slide the curtains aside just a little bit to get a good look inside. The first thing you notice is the face of a bear very close to your face as you peek in the window, and it startles you for a second until you realize that it is not alive. It's a trophy. And this is a pretty small place. It is one room. There's a bed that's very simple. There's a small table, a washstand, all the normal things for someone living in one room. You notice the little fire pit out front of the house, so it looks like whoever lived here did most of their cooking over the fire. But also inside are a lot of game trophies. There's a head of a deer hanging on the wall. There's a bird on one of the tables that's been stuffed. And then there's the bear.
Taxidermist?
In one corner of the room, there's a fishing pole leaned up against the corner. And in another corner, there are a couple of buckets of water. Looks like water. There's nobody inside.
I hop down and tell the group what I've seen. Do we want to remove the boards and investigate this building further, or should we move on to the Tanners?
Perhaps we should. It seems odd that somebody would board up an empty house.
I agree.
Agreed.
Does anybody actually have a crowbar, by the way? I know it's like an actual piece of equipment in the game. I don't think I do.
I believe I do. Let me look. Yes, I do.
Now's your time to shine. Listen to ball bearings.
Whoever's trying to get the boards off, just give me a strength check. Alright, it's you. Slide the crowbar in there, and you push on it pretty good and heave on it, and it feels like it's going to give, but man, those nails are in there pretty good. You can't quite get it open.
Would you like a hand there, Fitz?
I guess. Here you go.
And don't forget, you guys can take help actions for each other, and you essentially give each other advantage on ability checks like this.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Okay. I'll do that. You say you help.
Yeah, basically. But Dolman, you give it a big heave, and you think Fitz probably loosened it up. The nails slide out, and you get the first board off. And after the first one, it's easier to get the others out. And you take all the boards off the door. You can set them right next to the door, and the door's open.
I open the door and motion inwards. Show.
Yep. I'll draw my sword and shield and step into the house just cautiously.
Okay. It's fairly small. It's maybe 15 by 20, all one room. Something like that.
Okay. Is there?
And the same things in here as described to Waba.
I guess I can roll for this, but is there any sign of like struggle or conflict or anything that could have happened here that indicate some sort of battle or anything?
Investigation.
Yeah, I'd like to roll investigation as well.
Okay. Anything in particular you're investigating, or just like in general, what does the room look like?
Just seeing if I can get more of an idea if this is like a hunter's house or if it's like a, because we have a tanner right north of us, so, or if it's like a taxidermist or whatever. Did that just roll?
No, I got Amir's, but not Fitz. Okay, so Amir, you can't find any signs of a struggle. It looks just like somebody got up and left one day. Nothing looks terribly out of place. Fitz, you do find in one corner in a wardrobe behind some hanging clothes, there's some supplies, it looks like, for fletching. There's also a set of knives that you find in a table that could, probably be used for skinning and that kind of thing. Best guess, a huntsman who liked to display his trophies.
Gotcha. I don't think there's anything to see here.
You said there was buckets of water too?
Yeah. In one of the corners, there's two wooden buckets, medium size, just holding water. One of them's about half empty.
That's pretty normal, right? Like that's how villagers store their water or whatever.
Yeah, there's no wells in town. Everybody uses lake water, so you figure they've got to store it somehow.
Yeah, I'll just glance in one of the buckets just to make sure there's like not a head or anything weird in there.
No heads. No evil faces staring up from the water, or, leeches with sinister-looking teeth or anything. It's all just water.
Okay. Alrighty. Turn back to the group. Odd that this was boarded, but perhaps they went out the... Well, I don't know. What's the mystery, and we'll have to figure it out later.
If I had to guess, I would say, you guys. I'm assuming you guys share the information about the mines and such.
Mm-hmm.
I'd assume this was the hunter that was teaching the Smith boys, and they probably boarded up out of superstition.
Hey, that makes sense.
Torgrim nods. Which one did they say? Was it Trigo, he said, was the hunter?
Trigo, yes.
Safe to assume the other house we encountered that was boarded was... I'm trying to remember the name of the other guy that I had to kill.
Zed.
Zed.
But there were people in there.
Were there?
Yeah, that was scratching.
Oh. Yes, maybe he had family. That's something we'll have to check on. To the Tanners, then.
All right, to the Tanners.
Cool. So we'll head out and party on to the Tanners.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
As you approach the Tanners, you smell maybe one of the worst things you've ever smelled. If you've been around leatherworking before, yep. The front of the house is pretty nondescript. But out back, there's a long sort of hide tent covering a number of things. There's the materials of the leatherworker's trade. There's some racks where skins have been stretched. And in the middle, there's a big pot boiling.
Okay. No sign of the Tanner himself.
No, not at the moment. Leaned up against one of the posts of the big tent out back with the cauldron is the first weapon you've seen in the village. It's a large sword, at least a hand and a half, or somewhat crude, but definitely very functional, with a hide leather wrap on the hilt.
Okay. I'll take note of it, but not concerned at this time. If it doesn't sound like noises are coming out of the work tent, like he's in there working, I'll head towards the front door.
Okay. As you approach the door, it actually opens, and a man steps out. He's very tall, maybe 6'4", somewhere in there. Dark skin, long hair, dressed in just like a leather vest, and he looks a little surprised when he sees you. Grunts. Ooh. On one side of his face, he's got like an elaborate tattoo covering about half his face.
Can I place like the tattoo as any sort of particular symbol, or is it just an unknown tattoo?
Let me think. Probably give me a history roll.
Okay.
You've heard that the Uthgard barbarians that are all over the north tattoo their faces. You've never seen the particular symbol, but that's not uncommon, so you've heard.
Okay. I'll address him. We know his name, right? What was just anybody remember his name?
I'm afraid I don't.
Okay. Let me see if we put him in notes. Yeah, that's it. Okay. I'll just greet him. Greetings, Tanner. I'm uncertain if you've noticed, and I'll kind of look around left or right, but the village seems to have fallen prey to an illness. More villagers were impacted, or more of your city folk were impacted during the night. Some of them were isolated by Herschel in the inn to the south. Have you seen anything near your house?
Who are you? This is a really deep voice.
Apologies, I'm a mere. I'll do a slight bow. And these are my companions. We're friends of Mylene's.
He grunts. More are sick.
Yes. Many more, I'm afraid. The Tinker's family, just beyond your house, they're locked in their home right now. All of them are ill.
Like the others.
Yes. They seem wide-eyed and no longer in possession of their wits or their soul. They'll attack on sight.
He looks sad.
No one seems to know the origin of this illness. Do you have any thoughts or ideas of where this may have came from?
No. I have not seen it before. He looks worried. They surprised us.
I forget, did he have family? Or do we know if he had family?
I don't think you know.
Okay. Do you have any family of your own here that you suspect may be sick?
He looks at you. Wife. Children. Yes.
Are they here in your home with you?
He takes a step back. That is no business of yours.
Should be careful. Many of them turn during the night. If you want to protect them, the best thing you can do is isolate them and make sure they can't harm themselves or anyone else, including you. We're trying to find a way to get rid of the illness or lift it from them, but so far we've had no luck.
I thank you for the warning.
Let's do a curt nod. All right, and I'll turn back to the rest of the group. Just to see if anybody else has anything to say.
To the Tanner, I say, if you need help, or if you don't feel safe here, Herschel and the rest are gathered at the inn with all those who haven't turned.
He nods back.
Good luck. I turn to the rest and I say, that's all of the village, yeah?
I believe so.
And as you're standing there, the tanner walks around the house toward the tent in the back.
I'll look to the rest of the group. This village is going to get worse and worse the longer we wait. We should try to figure out our next steps, although I'm grasping at ideas on what we should investigate or look into.
Well, believe Torgrim, possibly Amir, harbored suspicions about Herschel. We could try and question him, or we could go and try and find Smith's boys before he does anything too out of hand.
Fitz, as they're standing here talking, you hear something off in the brush. In that space across from the tanner's house and behind the huntsman's home in that woodland, you hear what sounds like bodies moving through the undergrowth.
I'm gonna as quietly as possible tell everyone to quiet themselves, and I'd like to stealth over for a better view.
Okay, give me a stealth check.
Put my hand on my sword hilt just to be ready to draw it.
I'm going to draw mine just in case.
Okay. You can take some cover behind a tree and sort of peek around it a little bit. The brush is sort of medium thickness, so it's sort of hard to tell, but you definitely hear what sound like two largish sized bodies moving through. It sounds like it could be people moving slowly through the undergrowth.
Moving towards or away?
Moving towards you. Moving approximately in the direction of the huntsman's cabin.
I'm going to I signal to the rest of the group and wave them to follow, and I'm going to continue following them, but kind of stay out of eye shot.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll follow slowly, but not close enough to like break stealth for him.
As you watch and you sort of peek around a tree, there's an open space in the woodland before the huntsman's cabin. And out of the woods come two men, boys. One of them is maybe 15, 16. The other one is a couple of years older. They're both dressed in leathers and they've got packs on their backs. One is carrying a stick with some rabbits tied to it. The other one has got something wrapped up in leather in his arms that he's carrying. They don't seem to have seen you.
I'm going to assume that they're the Smith's children and make myself known and just give them a hello.
As you step out from behind the tree and say hello, they both jump a little bit. One drops the rabbits he was carrying and he sort of reaches for his bow or whatever. He's obviously startled. And then sees you and looks a little confused. Good morning. Who,
I didn't mean to startle you. We're new in town. We're part of a caravan. Has to do with Mylene. There's some issues with the town that we need to talk to you about.
Oh. Issues. He looks to his brother. Okay. Well, come inside. You talk to Trigo about it. And he picks up the rabbits from the ground. Starts heading over towards the woodsman's shack.
I assume everybody's kind of caught up with me by this point.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll follow you.
I'll take note of them. They seem like they have rabbits. Nothing else suspicious that they're holding?
I have a bundle wrapped in leather.
It's probably an animal. Okay, let's just follow them and see what they do, I guess.
And this is in character to Fitz. Did I hear them right? Did they not know about Trigo?
I don't believe so. I don't want to be the one to tell them, though.
I don't want to know what's up a happy side.
They walk around to the front of the building, and they stand on the porch and they knock on the door. They look sort of confused at the boards stacked up next to the doorway. One of them yells,
Fellas.
"Trigo, good morning, we're back."
Oh no. You there, Smith's boys. What are your names?
The older one looks at you. How did you know we were the Smith's boys? Aslan's our father.
Well, you see, how long ago did you head out hunting? A couple days, maybe, or?
They look at each other. About 3 days.
Ah, okay. Well, my name is Adolaman, and like Fitz said, we're with the care of Mylene. There's been a sickness that's taken over the village, and I'm afraid that those affected turn and seem to lose their senses and turn violent whenever they spot someone.
They're looking more and more confused.
It's not a great situation, but we've worked with Herschel and your father to secure most of the village. Unfortunately, shortly before we arrived yesterday, Zeb and Trigo were the first to turn, and I'm afraid they didn't quite make it. They attacked your mother, or the Tanner's wife. I'm not sure. We seem to get conflicting accounts, but Zeb are dead.
The boy looks confused, and he looks between the door and you, and then he goes and pushes open the door and goes inside.
The one that's on the porch, I say, I know this is terrible news, but your father is very concerned about you, and he hopes you're not sick. So if there's any peace you have to make, it's probably best to do it quick. He said he was going to go looking for you himself if you didn't show up in a few hours' time. And how long ago was that?
What's that?
How long ago was that? Before whenever we left the Smith?
Maybe half an hour.
That was about a half an hour ago.
Okay. Eventually, the older boy comes back outside. I need to go see my father. And they start down the path toward the Smith's house.
All right. Should we follow them, or maybe go to Herschel?
Logan steps around the corner of the building. Hey, boys, come back here real quick before you head on home.
They take one look at you, and they walk a little bit faster.
Fuckers. I follow them back to the Smith's house then.
Right. I follow Logan's lead.
Okay, I'll follow as well.
Me too.
That was our kind of next step, was to go to find them, so we'll figure out what we want to do.
I turn to the group and say, I want to inspect their game.
You think it's diseased?
I do.
No. That's fair.
Okay, so they make it back to the Smith's house. And they talk with their father a little bit, and he explains what happened, and they look sort of shocked. Uh, but eventually, Aslan gets them calmed down a little bit. The oldest boy says, "I'm sorry we didn't listen to you. It's just, it's a lot, Trigo. He was our friend."
Yes, your father told us that he was teaching you how to hunt. I'm very sorry for your loss.
We had questions for him, too.
What questions would those be?
We thought maybe he'd know what make the animals sick.
I see. Do you mind if I inspect your game? Or maybe you could just tell us what makes you think the animals are sick.
The older one basically tells you that they usually hunt here south of the lake, but recently they've had a really hard time finding game up south of the lake. So this time they decided to go over the bridge and hunt in the woods, just on the other side of the bridge over the river. But they didn't find very much. They found a few rabbits. They brought those back. But they also found a few animals that were sick. And the smaller boy had a little bundle wrapped up in his arms, and he unwraps it. And it's a squirrel. But it's a squirrel that is laying on its back, arms and legs sort of twitching a little bit. Some of its fur has fallen out. And its eyes are just a pure white.
Interesting.
That'll be the same. All right, so thinking out loud here. If game has gone south, scarce to the south, and the sickness seems to be affecting animals to the west, I turn to the boys. Is there any kind of river that runs to the west of here, or anything from the lake, maybe?
He says, yes. Well, the rushing comes out of the lake and heads to the west. There's a bridge over the rushing, and that's the path up toward Rushing Falls, to the north.
Boys, did you happen to notice if the falls were a strange color? Anything strange about those falls that you may have noticed from the last time that you were there?
Oh, we didn't go all the way to the village. We only went maybe half a day past the bridge. That night, we heard a big pack howling. We didn't go any farther.
Probably a good call. Well,
Wolves would generally stay away from men with fire, but there were only two of us. And then we found this little guy.
Well, now we have a place we know we can investigate. Maybe we can find the cause of the illness.
agreed.
Also agreed. My only concern is that if it's that far away, some of the turned villagers might not be able to eat. I hate to think that they starved before we managed to figure out what's going on, even.
The smith looks down at the little bundle the youngest boy is holding. I think you should take that to Herschel, boy. He nods to his father.
We'll accompany you back to the Blushing Trout and see if we can get some answers.
So wait, you want to go back to the Trout and talk out like the logistic problem with food and all that?
No, we're gonna take the squirrel that's sick back to Herschel and see what he can figure out about it.
Yeah, and then I was also thinking maybe it might be faster by boat. If any of us can maybe convince the boatmaker to let us borrow one.
Yeah, there's the boatman. Yeah,
It's worth a try.
For now, though, Herschel. Yeah.
Okay, so I guess we'll go back to the Inn of the Blushing Trout. See if Herschel has something to say about the squirrel.
Okay. Herschel, you fill Herschel in. He obviously identifies it as probably the same thing affecting the villagers, but he can't seem to figure out the source. He's done some tests on the people here at the Blushing Trout. He's tried everything he knows, but he just keeps saying that without knowing what's causing it, he has no idea how to fix it.
Okay. I think we'll just inform him that we're gonna head out to the last place where they saw animals being sick, and hopefully they'll hear back from us soon. Unless somebody else has an idea where we should start. It feels like that's our only kind of solid lead at the moment.
Yeah, that's pretty much all we got.
Okay.
Yep.
Says, okay. If you find anything, let me know. While you're gone, Mylene and Weeder and I will find the people that are still well, and we'll try to make sure everyone's safe. Don't know how we'll manage the whole village by ourselves, but maybe with the help of Aslan and his boys. Well, be quick. If you want to get to where the boys were, you'll have to head toward Rushing Falls. Do you have a map?
I don't remember. I don't think we do, right? I know we have a map of the pass.
We have like an overall map of the valley.
Okay. Just a general sketching, nothing specific. If you have something better.
Let's see. I think he doesn't really have anything better than the Stone Valley map. This one.
Okay.
That's fine. My
We're on
wanderer
this
trait basically has me remember maps from memory, so
okay.
I have everything that was shown to us at the beginning of the campaign.
Where about on this map? I guess we could can we ask the Smiths boys or somebody to point out like where we think the location they were describing is where they're hunting game. I assume it's over the bridge and up the western side of the lake.
Yes.
But I wasn't clear on if it was up near the actual village far north or not.
They said that they didn't make it to the village.
Okay.
Yeah, they point out toward sort of that point where the west side of the lake is closest to the path north. They say that's about where they stopped and made camp. They didn't go farther than that. They were down in that stretch of woods. They say that it's about a day, maybe a little over a day, between Crystal Lake and Rushing Falls.
Okay, so we can head out from Crystal Lake, go along the western shore across the bridge, and see the area they're at, and then we can decide if we want to camp or keep heading north. I think that's a good place to start.
Yep.
Yeah, we don't want to try and go for a boat. We might be able to get down a lot of travel time.
I'll just say it. I'll say in character. The thought of a boat makes me a little uneasy, not knowing what's in that lake. Can you imagine being stuck out on a boat? Fucking dark swamp water and that. Oh god. That sounds like a nightmare.
Alright. Just thought I'd suggest it since time seems to be of the essence. But if you're not comfortable, that's fine.
Besides, if we head along the shore, we'll be able to spot signs of illness or something else. From the lake, it may be difficult to make out what's going on as we approach.
Yeah, going by boat might actually put us back behind what we're searching for. Have us trapped.
Herschel mentions,
better to clear the way.
Herschel says, if they're not sick and you make it as far as Rushing Falls, bring back help if you can. We'll need it to keep everyone here safe. We can only do it for so long.
Nod. I try to get to Rushing Falls. If we turn back, it'll be because we'll have cause to. Also, in the back of my head, I'm thinking about the other party that was lost. And, this is probably the path they took, so I guess we'll see what we find.
Good point.
Okay. So I'll kind of look around into the group. We should set off soon. It's still early enough in the day that we could probably use half the daylight. There's not much we can resupply on. But if we do need anything, perhaps we should speak to Mylene before we go. In case any of you guys want to get any more supplies or anything. I think I'm pretty set, though.
Yeah, I'm good to go.
Yeah, I think I am too.
I don't have the gold, but if Mylene could spare a bedroll, might be better and more comfortable than I was during the blizzard.
Yeah, she can set you up.